Welcome to Oblast with Don and Kevin. It's March 15th, 2021. I'm Kevin.
I'm Don.
And we have a special guest tonight, Matt.
Hello.
All right, so Matt has joined us. You're a long-time listener, right? Have you been listening from the beginning, or when did you start listening to the VGN?
Not from the beginning. I picked it up, I'd say probably about 5 years after you guys started. But I went back and listened kind of pretty much from from
Just screaming at my brother constantly.
Poor soul.
Yes.
Yeah, lot of family arguments, a lot of impressions of your mom, and
Yes.
yeah,
Good
a lot
times.
of that.
Yeah, if you're new to Oblast Radio, we created Video Game News Radio back in 2004 and have been started on Shoutcast and have been podcasting ever since. And we have a lot of people that listen to that show. And we had a number of spin-off shows as well. And it's nice always to have a person on like Matt here who has been following us for a long time. We're going to do a usual interview process here about Matt's life, which is part of what the whole Oblast theme is. And along the way, we'll maybe hear some interesting stories and, from us as well as Matt, and should be a good time. So, Matt, so normally what I do is I say, what did your parents do, if you remember, and or what do they do now? I guess you could say, but where they met and how they met. Do you know that?
Sure. So, not detail by detail, but they met at work. It was a company called
Here.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I unbuttoned her blouse and
not the biblical details. No. When two people know each other and really love each other, they they met at a company called Neighborhood Legal Services.
Oh, interesting.
And my dad sold insurance, and my mom worked for this company, and they met. They were both. They had recently separated from previous marriages.
Oh, okay.
And then they had kids from previous marriages. So I have half brothers and half sisters.
Ah, okay.
And that was pretty much that. Now my father.
Well, where were they? Where? I'm sorry. Where was this company at? Like what? Like where?
This was in Pittsburgh,
okay.
Pennsylvania.
And that's where you were born?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Yes. Much to my dismay.
And so, were you the only child in this marriage, or do you have siblings?
No. I have a younger brother. His name is Morgan. He moved to Chicago about 2 years ago. I hear from him like once every 6 months. He's going through that phase where he's 28. I think he's like figuring stuff out.
Right.
So at this point, he's either a cyber terrorist or he is working for Greenpeace. I don't think there's like a middle ground. He's one of those things.
Okay. Maybe both.
Maybe both. And if this doesn't make it to the authorities, I am joking about the cyber terrorism.
You never know. You never know. I know when I used to do side work for Murray and Sons, which was Eric Wolpaw and Chet Falasek, they had a website up, and they wrote they put a little graphic up on their website that, wasn't super popular, but they put a little graphic up. It was like a joke, and it said something, along the lines of, and you too could shoot the president. And there was like a crosshair on I think it was George Bush at the time, but it wasn't like a political thing, and the Secret Service came to their office and asked them to take it down. They were very nice, but but they just
they're very nice about it.
Yeah.
Listen, we're gonna have to arrest you unless you take that down.
Yeah, I mean, they understood it was a joke, but it was kind of like, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, well, just kind of, you don't want to find out, what'll happen if you're like, what if I don't take it down? And they'd be like, right. I never did find out whatever happened to those guys. They just disappeared. And
So here's the thing: we rammed your door down, and you're gonna have to pay for that.
Hope you like Kool-Aid on your lips.
Prison forever.
Hope you did. Yeah.
So, okay, and so your parents lived in Pittsburgh. Are you in Pittsburgh now?
I am.
Okay. I go there occasionally for work now. I had never gone there until about a year and a half ago. And I, when we live, in Cleveland, we're fairly close. I just
3
never,
hours.
never had the urge to go there for any reason. Not that it's,
It's not sports related.
Yeah, I'm right. I'm not a sports follower,
Right.
and I had thought about watching a game at the Penguins, but
Just something funny with you saying that.
yeah, but I just, it's actually pretty nice. I mean, not that I would think it wouldn't be, but some Rust Belt towns, even Cleveland, like Cleveland's nice if you know where to go, but like in the center of the city, Cleveland is kind of like, I don't know. There's that public square and everything that they've kind of redone. And I really need to go look at that because I haven't even seen it. But for the most part, when you're just in Cleveland, it's just like, it's just city. You know what I mean? And Pittsburgh's got some interesting. There's that one building that's like all glass or silver or something, and it's got those bridges that are kind of cool.
See, but listen to what listen to what you have to say to justify coming here, right? It's got, don't get me wrong. I love Pittsburgh. I'm happy I'm from here. But when people who aren't from here have to say, well, it's got, that building and it's got those bridges and sometimes it's sunny. It's like, all right, well, it's time to go.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, but I guess my takeaway from it though is that I found it because it's like a steel town or ex-steel town,
just like Cleveland.
Yeah, like Cleveland, but I thought it was a little bit nicer than Cleveland, and I don't mean that Cleveland's not nice. It's okay.
It's different.
It's different, right? But I thought Pittsburgh, at least, like when you're coming in as sort of a tourist type of thing, I thought it was nicer, except for the way you guys have your traffic on ramps and stuff like that, like on and off, like. It's the most, it's like 2 feet of, like your on-ramp is like 2 feet. It's like you're like at a stop sign and then you're just like, hit the gas. And you're just bolting out in the middle of the, I don't understand it, man. I don't know how you guys don't get in accidents all the time over there.
I did some work out there for my brother, like back when I was married. And I was out there for a week in Pittsburgh. And I didn't drive. I had somebody else drive me because I was like, I'm not. I never. Not that it's not that I had driven there and was like, oh, I know what it's like. This is gonna suck. Sure. I was just like, I'm not dealing with it. I don't know what it's like. There's 3 rivers. There's a giant mountain with a hole in it that you got to drive through. You're just like,
that's what it is, man. It's built according to the 3 rivers as opposed to a grid. Like a grid follows logic, right? So, this is First Street. That means Second Street's right over here. No, Pittsburgh is, this is First Street. That means Second Street's, 3 neighborhoods over through the bus lane. That's one direction on Wednesdays and another direction on Thursdays. I mean, granted, I'm used to it, but if you're not from here, it's a disaster every time.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's not the only city I've ever driven in. Chicago's really crazy too. And, but Cleveland is actually pretty straightforward. Like we have this dead man's curve, which is kind of offsetting if you're coming into town. Because you're just like flying down the highway, and then all these signs are like, "There's this big turn coming."
You got the rumble strips. It's just like, whap, 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 whap. There's so many of them. It's just so
pay
quick.
attention. You're gonna slam into this thing, and you can see every time you go around, you can see like tire marks and scrapes and things on the side
up against the barricade thing.
people don't follow. We
don't mess around here. We don't mess around here. We're like, listen, it's a dangerous curve. Like if that barrier wasn't there, like if you just like kept going straight, you go right into the lake.
Right.
It's like they're like, listen, this is a very dangerous curve. It's like we got to make sure everybody slows down. Everybody's cool around here. It's like, what should we call it? They're like, let's call it Dead Man's Curve.
So they leave like the skulls of all the slain people along the road.
That'd be awesome.
Sign,
people come to town and you're like, yeah, just go out past Dead Man's Curve, and people are probably like, I'm out of here.
Right. Yeah. Right. And then if you go out west, like people don't have like ice and snow out there, so they'll just like they'll like zip in between lanes, they're like whoosh, they're like right in your lane and then they're into another lane, and I just sit there, I'm like, yeah, you can't drive like that by us, man. You would be into the wall. Like there's, don't ever come east if you've only driven out west, because you do not know what you're about to face when you hit ice. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, they don't play here. But the winter here is because not only do people forget how to drive, this city shuts down. So, and we're talking before COVID. So before COVID, if it snows, they close businesses like 6 hours early, but then they still expect the kids to go to school. It's like the most backwards thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, we get lake effect, but we're not up in the mountains or whatever hills like you guys. So our snow is not usually too bad, you know. But anyway, we could talk about the city all day. So Pittsburgh, did you go to elementary school?
Yes. I went to it's East Hills Elementary. That was first through fifth grade. Probably looking back on it, the best time I had in school, because it was it was a mostly black school, right?
Sure.
And it was in a rough neighborhood at the time, but my friends and I were so tight. And I came from a mostly white neighborhood. The neighborhood I grew up in was called Squirrel Hill, which is primarily Jewish. I was raised in a Jewish household.
Huh.
So my mom is white, my father was black. So I'm coming into this mostly black school as a biracial Jewish male. Really, I know. There's too many punchlines to count there. And I found myself just really being able to get in any circle I want because of that. So
Interesting.
that was an awesome time. And then I went from there to middle school, Frick International Studies Academy. That was for middle school. And that was a little bit, at that point, it was kind of like you could start to see, I'm not the person that looks for racism everywhere. It certainly exists.
Oh, sure.
Right? But I don't look for it everywhere. But that's when I started to see bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, I think that's like a puberty thing, right? When you're like a little kid and everything, you're just kind of like, I love everybody and I want all of us to be friends and I will never be that way. And then people get older and they're just like, I have opinions now. And then you turn, them.
12, 13 years old, and you go to the school bus one day and some kid's like, you black bastard. And I'm like, what? Like, why'd that happen?
Right. Yeah, that's not. Did you have, how were your grades?
Good. Let's see. I was a good student up until high school. High school is when I started, you worry about girls and everything like that. And I remember I had like depression issues because I was overweight. And, I saw I did that whole see a psychologist thing, and they tried to tell me I was, I had depression issues and blah, blah, blah. And, I went through that kind of whole phase.
Now, that's interesting to me. Cause I've dealt with a lot of, mental health, did you gain weight when you got, or were you always like heavy? You know what I mean? Like when you were,
I was always a chubby bastard.
And you just got depressed, like maybe when you hit puberty, that started to weigh on you or something? Well, that's weigh on you.
Yeah, look at you. There it is. That was good.
You don't need me here.
No, a lot of it was that I was I was a sucker for love. Like I was always the kid. I was like, oh, I have a crush on you. Why won't you be my friend? And it was always, oh, I like you, but I'm gonna go. I think even little kids back then smoked cigarettes and had leather jackets. I don't know, but I was always like the friend of the girl.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
And that when you're already like overweight, that like stuff like that weighs on you, right? Right. I can do it too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it.
That led to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. So you kind of now did you when you got into high school were you able to date? I mean, did you?
No, high school. Like I was happy, right? Because I had my friend group, and I played football, and I was in the marching band, and I played football. So I didn't really I was like, oh man, I want a girlfriend so bad, but at the same time, it's like. I was still playing Nintendo 64. I was playing GoldenEye.
Hold on. You were playing football and in the marching band? Were you on the field, and then when it was the halftime, you switched out?
At halftime, I would do it, yeah, every once in a while. Not all the time.
But I rotated the door. Did you really? Wow.
Yeah, a couple times. Yeah.
That's dedication to you. I'd blow one of them off, I
wasn't great at football. I'm 6 feet tall. And at the time I was like 250. So I was like a bigger dude. And I was cool with football, but I really liked the marching band. So I did both. But I was happy just going to my boy's house and playing GoldenEye at that point because I had an established group of friends. Exactly. I had an established group of friends, and it didn't the lack of female attention didn't start to hit me until my friends started to get girlfriends, and then I was like, oh, wait a second, what the hell's wrong here?
Right.
And that's when it was like, oh shit, I better do something about this.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
GoldenEye, I was actually just talking about that on Jedi Show. The great thing about GoldenEye was that it was just like this, like if you wanted to game multiplayer at the time, like you pretty much had to have a PC that was fairly capable, and you had to do some like really tweaking and stuff to get into like an arena shooter. But like with GoldenEye, you could just get 4 friends together and a TV, 4 controllers, and have a great time. You know,
I think Quake was the other game.
Totally
Quake
awesome.
was the game that was out at the same time,
yeah,
roughly.
Same deal. Yeah. That was N64. That was like its I don't know. It was just a big deal for that system. Really, it was a good selling point that Nintendo capitalized on in a lot of ways. They started to realize, I think, that there was a lot of room for like games like Super Smash Brothers and Mario Kart and all that kind of stuff, where that people play games together at home, and a lot of the ways the PlayStation and the Xbox have gone. Obviously, they still make family games that you can play things like that, but those types of games were never of the same quality level as the ones that Nintendo put out. I think they're always just like, hey, we've got a Me Too kind of Crash Bandicoot or I forget what they called the Microsoft one, but you know what I'm saying? Like Nintendo always maximized their multiplayer, so it was always kind of nifty.
There's actually a social component even within my own life so those games forced you to be social and have friends.
Yes.
Right. And I remember, I'll never forget, I was a freshman in college when Gears of War came out, and that's when you can have like an Xbox party,
Right.
And you could party up. Or no, I'm sorry, there were no parties. You had to be in a lobby and you had to talk to people, and actually met friends through there that, I ended up seeing later on in life. Now, when you can create your own private parties, people aren't social anymore. So they just go to their own like close group of friends, and then they just end up talking shit on each other. And that's it. So these games aren't social anymore. GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, those games, like you went to your friend's house, you made like a thing of it. That's not a thing anymore. Right.
And that's a shame, because I think that, I don't know about socializing with strangers so much. There's a lot of jackballs online. You don't need to talk to all those crazy people. But I do like the idea that, people could go over somebody's house and play games. And the Wii kind of brought that back a little bit, especially with older people, like my mom had a Wii, which was like really weird, And I was like, really? And she's like, oh, we play the sports with my friends. It's fun, and you're just like, wow, it's just okay, But Nintendo had, an interesting market with that. They got what they had set out to do, which was, get a lot more people playing. And then they decided to make like the Wii U, which was like the exact opposite. It was like, how can we make it so no one wants to play our games? Well, we can add this really complicated controller thing that nobody quite gets, and it's giant, and then we'll call it the Wii U to make people think that it's just the Wii with something else, so they won't understand what it is, Nintendo, I don't know. And then they try it again here with Switch, which they're like, look, you can take the controllers off and you can give it to one of your friends and you both can play like a game. And then then they say, all right, what we're going to do though? We're just going to not do that anymore. We're just going to sell the controllers like fused to the body of the unit. And we're
going to give you a Game Gear. Basically,
right.
Like, here's these 8 batteries.
Here's our new Game Boy Advance, because that feature we came up with was just not so good.
I have a Switch. I think I've played it, I don't know, maybe 9-10 times. And I have 2 kids, and I played it in the 3 years I've had it. We played it maybe 10 times.
Oh wow, yeah. No, I play mine occasionally. I get a lot of horror games for it. It's just a thing I'm into, and I'm weird because I'll play like a system for a while. Like I went back to the PSP because I wanted to play a Silent Hill game. And that was weird too, because that going back to like, a handheld like the PSP, it's like it took those crazy discs, those UMDs, and you put that in there, and it's like, this is so bizarre. Like, why, just memory card and everything. And so, so I play a lot of things. Like I'll be in the mood to play one game. I'm one of those people though that's like, I've got all these games I've never played, and I'm thinking like, I got to get back and play that game, and I'll go and do it, where other people, I don't know how they do it. Like they just give up on those games. They're like, yeah, I never got to that game and I never will. And it's just, I don't know, it freaks me out. It's like, I got to keep playing like everything I own.
Dude, I got so many like free games from PlayStation Plus.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I haven't even like touched. I was just like, I haven't even opened them. Like I haven't even like started any of them. It's just like, God, because then it's like every month it's like, oh well, I guess I would. I'm not a big Tomb Raider guy, but if you're going to give me the last one, yeah, if you're going to give me the last one for free, I'm going to take it.
Right. I'm the exact same. I have a whole library of Game Pass games. The only one I played at length was Subnautica. I probably put like 85 hours into that game. But other than that, I'll start a game. Like I just recently downloaded Control because it was free, and I was like, I put like maybe an hour into it, and I was like, oh, I'm good. I gotta go back to work now.
Control's interesting. I just had to bring this up because like I recently got the Xbox Series X and the S and everything, and Microsoft has this weird branding going on with the Xbox stuff. And, the original Control for the Xbox One, it's, you see it and it's green, the original case is green. It says it's for Xbox One. And, but then they come out with like, oh, well, the Xbox is coming out like the Xbox One X. And so we're going to make like this new box label where it'll still say like Xbox One at the top, but then in this black, it'll say, Xbox One / Xbox Series X. And I'm like, okay, so there's enhancements for the Xbox Series X. And so you read the back of the case and it says, yeah, there's enhancements for, Xbox Series X. And you're like, okay, so that's, interesting that, that's whatever. That's what you get. You buy the game and you can play it on Xbox One, or you get some enhancements if you put it into the Xbox Series X. And so also I'm just going to start calling it Series X, everybody, because like the name's too long.
It's so much. Much to say.
It's so dumb. But so, okay, but I had this problem where I was like, and I was talking about this, maybe on Jedi Show or maybe on an earlier Oblast, but I was talking about how Microsoft is kind of like, they kind of quietly stopped selling the Xbox One X, right? And so I was like, I think these games like this with this branding, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, is just, it's just the Xbox One game. And then that part that says it's Series X is actually the features that were on One X, because One X gave you HDR and gave you, more RAM and more features, but it had a frame rate issue. It could only do 30 frames per second, and it can't do ray tracing. But it gave you all these other things, 4K. It gave you 4K gaming, and I felt like, okay, well, it's all inside this one game. And then, so just recently, though, and this is why I'm bringing this up, is they came out with a version of Control in the case specifically for Xbox One or Series X, and so like if you look at the two games side by side, they almost look identical in the cases. But if you look at the one that's specifically for Series X, it says that it's 60 frames per second and has ray tracing in it. And so it's like, so Microsoft's doing this bait and switch. Like they're basically trying to tell everybody, like, look, you can get these games. We have all these games for the Xbox Series X that also work on the Xbox One. But in reality, what you're getting is the same game. You're just getting now you can play the modes that worked on One X. And so it's like a sneaky thing that most people won't even care or pay attention to. But I see things like this and I'm like, I know what you fuckers are doing. I know what you're doing. And so,
it's like, I remember when they did the re-release of Killer Instinct. And you could only get like 6 to 8 fighters, but oh, by the way, you have to go through all these microtransactions to get like Jago or like this basic ass character. There's no, you don't buy. It's like you said. It's sneaky. It's shady. You can't buy, like when I bought, Castlevania for Super Nintendo. I got all of Castlevania for Super Nintendo. There was no anything else, and that's not a thing anymore. It's like these companies look to capitalize in every single way they can.
Right. Yeah, they do, and it's unfortunate because and then they do eventually sell a copy of the game that has everything in it, but I don't know. It's like it's going to be weird in the future where like some games you'll be able to sell, like on disc to people like in a classic game lineup type of thing, and then other games are basically just like they sell you a box with a disc in it, but as soon as you put the disc in, it's like, you got to go online and download like 5 gigabytes of content, or you can't play this game. You
got to leave it on overnight to install this update that didn't come with the game. Yeah, I'm Mass Effect is probably my favorite series of all time, and I know that they just re-released their master version or whatever like that, and I just can't I can't justify that. Because it's just like, come on, studios! Like, you have enough money as it is,
right? And I just can't play those mining things with that little like car that you drove around. I remember,
the sandworms with the 1 or 2 sandworms on this empty planet.
Yeah, and the one that hopped too, and the later one, Mass Effect 2. Like, I can't do those levels again, no matter how pretty they are. They've lost me on that. Take that part out, because then I'd maybe play it again, but I can't do that again.
I hope you guys bring back VGN radio. It's clearly still in your heart.
Maybe it's a scheduling thing. Yeah,
and he's clearly the only one playing video games.
All right, let's move back. So, okay, high school. So and your grades started to fall off because the girls you were seeing some psychiatrists or something, or counselors. And so what happened there? Did you stay in a funk all through high school, or did you emerge out of that?
My funk was mostly through high school. I consider myself a late bloomer. I really didn't hit my peak until I shouldn't say peak, but I really didn't hit like that. This is what makes me funny, or this is what makes me cool, until sophomore year, or freshman year of college, roughly. I started at University of Pittsburgh, but at a branch campus.
Hold on. Before you go to college, just because I always ask people this, did you go to prom?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And was that a date or a friend?
I went with just a group of friends.
Oh, you went with a group of friends? Was it all guys? Yes. Was like a stag thing, or?
No, I was the one. It was all guys. Most of them had dates. I was one of the, I think there were 2 or 3 of us that did not have a date. So we just said, screw it. And we just went.
That's cool. And were you drinking or anything back then? You know what I mean? Like how kids do? No. Just kind of hung out. I didn't.
Yeah, I just hung out. A buddy of mine ended up, banging his lady in our friend's basement, and they broke their toilet in the basement, and they ended up, flipping out and fighting over it. It was pretty funny.
Oh, how the hell do people break toilets, man? That's great. Like, what the hell are you doing?
There's never mind.
Don, you obviously have a story that you want.
He has something. There was something there.
Listen, let's just say I've broken a toilet. No, I haven't. I just wanted to say something. Sorry.
Sure.
I'm just trying to get in.
Yeah, no,
I'm listening.
So, but you graduated high school.
Yes.
And your grades were good at the end, or what?
Yeah, my grades were fine by the time I got out of there.
Awesome. And that gave you enough to go to college, like, and community college, university. What was it?
University of Pittsburgh. But I started off at a branch campus in a little town called Titusville, which is like an hour away from Erie, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Well, explain that to me, because I'm not that familiar on that type of a process. So you went, when you say you went to a branch campus, what does that mean exactly? Like, why did you do that?
So most schools have main campuses, right? That's where like major cities. So I started off at a branch campus because I kind of felt like if I start off at a main campus with, like thousands of other students, I feel that like it was going to be too much for me, like sensory overload, right?
Sure.
So I wanted to go to a branch campus, which is like a more personal experience. You have classes where there's like maybe 30 or 40 students versus 200.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I started there, and that ended up being a big, big blessing.
Why is that?
Only because if I had, I know now looking back on it, if I had started off at the main campus, I would have got drunk the entire time and just pissed around and dropped out, because that's exactly what happened. My freshman year of college is when I started to drink, and it was like, man, oh man, it was like a whole world being open to me. My first hangover ever. Me and my buddies, we went and we got Hurricane 40s, which is a malt liquor.
Okay, we're familiar with malt. I'm not familiar with Hurricane, but I know the 40s well. So I'm with you.
Oh, okay, good. So you can get a case of these. You can get a case of 16 of these for $10. Right. So that tells you the
quality.
Exactly. It's very classy.
It's the best
very
kind.
Classy.
Yeah.
The best kind you can get.
It's like Laser, King Cobra.
Wait, yeah, exactly. Or this was like Milwaukee. This is like the Beast's cousin, right?
St. Ives was good.
So we did a lot of that, and we did a lot of MD 2020, and I put away three of these 40s in like an hour, and I knew I was in trouble. Not because I'm some tough guy, because I was trying to impress people, and I knew I was in trouble because by the time I hit the third one, it tasted like water.
Oh yeah,
and I didn't care anymore. And we were in a hotel, and all I remember is passing out on the bed, waking up, and someone saying, "Oh shit, we have to register for classes." And
really, wow,
yeah,
bad
timing. Oh yeah. Well, I was 17, and I remember making it down to the gymnasium to sign up. My advisor was there, and I sat down. The second I sat down, I felt something in my stomach that I'd never felt before. Mm-hmm. And I said, can you please excuse me? And I got up and I ran to the bathroom, and it was, I like, it's like, how you feel it start from the bottom and then just come all the way up. It was that for about 5 minutes. And
like a drum roll.
Oh man. Cause I could start to see those black spots in my field of view. And I said, something's happening. So that was my first hangover experience in college.
There's been many times where I've been hanging over that toilet, throwing up, and then just being like, I'm just going to lay here by the cool toilet.
Oh, that cool toilet. That's the best feeling in the world.
Right? You're in there, and then it's like the first thing you do is you get down on like your hands and knees, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, my hands feel really good. So, maybe I should just lay on the ground.
It's so gross, but you're just so like, this feels good. I'm just gonna lay there.
Because you have to make yourself throw up. Yeah. And it's like you have to make that retching sound. And the next thing you know, you do it, and it's like none of it ever happened. It's like you're good to go again.
Yeah.
Until you get older, and then it doesn't work as well. But yeah, when you're young, you can spring back like no problem.
Oh my gosh, yeah, those were the days.
That's the best. Okay. But did that like you said that started drinking freshman year? Did that impact your schooling?
My freshman year, the very first term, I got put on academic probation because I just wasn't like I spent so much time dicking around. Sure. I was carrying 15 credits, and my classes were Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But it was like my Mondays, like those days, it was like from 9 o'clock. So 6 o'clock, I had straight classes, right? Right. And Tuesdays and Thursdays were supposed to be the days where, I got my work done and I got caught up. But it just ended up being more just drinking.
Sure.
And that first term was like culture shock to me. And I ended up getting put on academic probation. But after that, it was like, oh, well, this is embarrassing. Like, this isn't, I have to do better. And it was kind of like smooth sailing after that. But that initial culture shock was like, oh shit, like nobody's forcing me to get this work done. I didn't have my parents on my ass.
Right.
So
right.
I actually had to find it within myself. Like,
you got to step up.
Are paying for you to be here. Exactly.
Yeah. You got to do it. So when you went into college, did you have a degree in mind, or were you going to just get your, associate classes, let's say, out of the way and then start to focus on a major as you went through, or how did that work for you?
Yeah. I didn't have anything in mind. I was really just kind of taking the core classes I needed to take and get them out of the way. And I figured by the time, by the time I hit like my sophomore year, I'll figure something out.
Were you working while you were in college?
Yes. I was working at the campus bookstore. And then after that, no, really, actually, no, after my first year, no.
Was that your first job or did you work in high school?
No, my first job was a security guard at the synagogue that I attended in high school.
What kind of security do you need at a synagogue? Like, what's going on? Like, somebody getting all irate in there or something?
Hey, listen, the irony is you need them now.
Well, yeah. No, I get it.
But,
right.
So really just more like high school kids going in and out of there messing around. People needed passes to get in. People needed to show ID, stuff like that. Nothing like I didn't carry like a taser with the Star of David on it or anything like that. Like, I wasn't, you know what I mean? I wasn't
secret society.
I wasn't asking people what religion they were when they came in or anything.
What's your business here? On the ground.
Yeah. Do you believe in Jesus? Oh, you can't be here. It wasn't nothing like that.
That's interesting. So, okay. So, a security guard. Did you get paid for that gig, or was it just kind of okay?
No, it was like $7.25 an hour.
Oh, that's all right.
It wasn't too bad. No.
So you're in college. You work at the bookstore. And so what happens? I mean, where do you decide on a major or?
I didn't decide. It was more of I had to declare my junior year, and what I declared was corporate and community relations, which is just like a fancy communications degree.
Sure.
And that was only because the majority of my classes kind of fulfilled that.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yep, it does. I think that's why a lot of people end up with communications degrees, but it's still Jedi has a communications degree. You know what I mean? And he's doing all right. Larry, I think, has a communications degree. I don't know if Larry's doing all right, but no, I mean, financially, he's doing all right. Mentally, I don't know if he's doing all right.
Oh, I'm not. The work I'm doing now has nothing to do with my degree, and I mean, we'll get to that.
I think, I think that's true of most degrees in general. People end up like becoming zoologists out of college, and then the next thing you know, they're like working on cars at
working at a bank,
right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so how long were you in college? 4 years or?
5 years.
5 years. Okay.
5 years.
And you graduated.
I did.
And what was that like for you? Like, were you interning straight to a job? How did that transition go from school to career?
I didn't get a job in my quote unquote field until 3 years after I graduated. I was at a company called EDMC, which houses several at the time it housed several technical colleges in the area. And I was part of an admissions team. And that was my first job, kind of more in my field, but it was hard to pass up because it was paying $17.50 an hour.
Sure.
And I was, you know what I mean? I was 21 years old.
Yeah. That's
22 at the time. So, I was still living at home with my parents, and it was good. But unfortunately, it started off with a lot of students calling in, just having questions about where to go and what class placements. But as the time went along, it became more outbound calling. It became more student retention. It became, well, why aren't you here in school? It became more sales based, and it just didn't sit right with me.
I see what you're saying. Sure. Yeah. It's like when you get that one job in your life when you're young and you're kind of like, this is it. Like, this is all I got enough money to survive. Like, this is all I need. And this is where I'm at. And I'm good now. I can survive. Like, that was a big thing with me because my dad took off when I was 19. And I had a roommate at the time and we were making it, but, it was hard, man. When the car broke down or something, it was just like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. And, you got to call people up on the phone and be like, can I borrow $100 and then pay you back? And, you end up, just struggling. But eventually, I got a job where I could make it on my own. But even at times when I thought I could, and then I ended up like having to get a roommate again, like Don knows, I had to live with Dan for a while, which was our friend Dan, which was an interesting experience. And, but then eventually, I got back on, got it together and got out of that situation. But yeah, no, starting out work, it's it's rough to find something that pays enough that you can sort of survive on. It's like I think every situation, like you could make a lot of money, and if you don't like manage it well, then anything can fall apart and cause you grief. But I don't know. There's just that point in your life where it's like you go from like that sort of side part-time job to making enough money. Remember, Anderson, when you lived in like Maple Heights or whatever, and you had like an apartment and everything?
Oh yeah, had my own place, 2-bedroom.
Yeah,
it was real nice.
It's
Not anymore.
Yeah, that was quite a long time ago, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were doing that, and I mean, so tell me about your career history then. Like, where did you go from there, or are you still there?
So no, gosh, no. So my father passed away while I was there, and when that happened, I just kind of went for a tailspin, because I was already not happy at this job, and then he died, and it was just like, well, fuck this. And they ended up giving me, they didn't fire me. They gave me like a severance. It basically just let me go on my way, because they were also in legal trouble at the time. Because the degrees that the schools were giving weren't warranting jobs. So basically it was like fraudulent degrees is what they were getting in trouble for. I don't know the legality of me saying that, but there is existing.
Don't worry, I don't think too many trial lawyers are listening to the show.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
What is this guy's name?
But
Max?
so yeah,
I'm gonna find him.
so he. It's funny. So when he passed away, they gave me a severance, and I honestly spent like the next, I don't know, like kind of like year and a half, like figuring things out.
Sure. I mean, other than a career situation, I mean, when your dad passed, was that emotional for you? Was that a difficult time for you?
That was the most difficult thing to this point I've ever had to go through.
Interesting.
Only because it was just so unexpected, and I'm a very spiritual person, so I'm also of the belief that like no matter what religion you prescribe to, like I believe I'll see him again, and
sure,
that's kind of what gets me through. So yes, the single hardest thing I've ever had to do. I worked little kind of jobs here and there. I had a job at FedEx for like 2 years. I was also working at a shoe store called Little's in a neighborhood called Squirrel Hill throughout this whole time. It was my first, I missed a step here. It was like my first retail job I ever worked, and they're like family to me. So they always like let me do their website maintenance, or they always let me. They were awesome, and I still see them. I met my girlfriend there.
Oh, great.
So they are like that's always family to me. So I always kind of had them to help me along, but it was always like these little side jobs until I started temping, which is a whole other culture in itself. I temped at a couple of jobs here and there, PNC, Towers Watson, until I got to Citizens Bank, where I temped for about 6 months. And I told my manager, I said, I'm better than everybody you have here. I'm just going to put it on paper and prove it. And then I got hired on.
Excellent.
I got hired on month 7. But then, they started giving me the runaround about, well, if you do X, Y, and Z, we'll put you in this program, and then we'll groom you for this and groom you for this. And I would do those things, and I would hit those metrics, but they would never give me the title. Let me rephrase. They would never give me the pay that's commensurate with the title. They would give me the title and the additional responsibility.
Right.
Oh, but we can't make this move right now. So it got to the point where, you keep seeing these emails saying, oh, well, the bank netted $4 billion in profit last week. And I'm like, I can't do this shit anymore.
Right. Banks are weird. So I work at a bank, and it's weird because you have to, a lot of times, like, the way the wage system works is that like you make what you make, and you've got to get into a better position if you want to make more, right? And you have to like advance into like how you said a title, but like you have to advance into a different. You can't just like do a really great job at your current position and make a whole bunch more money because they're just not going to give it to you. Like you've got to move forward with your career. And but what like with the bank I work at, the thing is that there's a cap on how much more you can get if you transfer over to another position. Like it's like 10% is like the max that you can get in terms of a bump. But if you quit and go work at a different bank, that other bank is likely to give you a pretty good raise for the amount of experience you have and the knowledge that and everything. And then you work at that bank for a few years and you do the same thing. And then you go back to the place you were at and suddenly they're giving you a lot more money. So it's like you're almost forced to do that. You're almost forced to like leave or just, you better be pretty happy with what you're making because that's all you're going to make, cost of living increase, et cetera.
Oh yeah. And that's exactly what happened was I had reached that ceiling, but it was like there was always word, okay, well, this bank is going to offer this. And I said, you know what? If I go to that bank, it's just going to be more of the same. Right. So I have to get out of this industry. So I ended up working for a nonprofit that lasted about 2 months. And then I went from that to where I am now. I'm back with the University of Pittsburgh, but I'm not technically employed. I'm in a fellowship. Basically, I work for the Center for Urban Education, and my role there is that I'm a mentor to middle school children at Obama High School. It's all virtual now, but I meet with them at the minimum 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I basically just help them. I talk them through their shit. Like we have activities. I help them with their work. Wow. I introduce them to opportunities outside of the school. And it's the most rewarding thing I've done up until this point.
Wow, that sounds really cool. And yeah, that sounds like who is this Obama that you mentioned? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Does that pay? Does that pay okay or no? I mean, is it enough?
No, it's more for educational purposes. Yeah, everything else is just for like living expenses and all that stuff.
So you're not going to do this, I mean, or are you? I mean,
No, this is going to go into hopefully either an EDD, which is a doctorate in education, or an MFA, which is a master's in fine arts. Because throughout this entire process, I'm learning that I want to be in a creative space, like no matter what, when this is all said and done. Because I'm looking around and I'm seeing that like people are less and less creative. When you look at the content that's being put out there, it's just more about like shock value. Like, what can I do to get attention, or who can I push down the steps today, or when I go to Walmart, who can I bother and then record? You know what I mean? It's just like it's true. I don't know when this happened, but it's a thing.
So that's really interesting. So when you say creative, though, what would you do? Like, are you talking like you're going to make video, or are you going to do art? Like where is that going? I'm trying to grasp that.
No worries. So eventually, I'd love to be able to learn how to direct my own films. I'm supposed to be getting a copy of Adobe Premiere here pretty soon, so I can teach myself how to edit video. I did create my own website called freemixedfeelings.com. That's where I review films, I review series. But every time I look at it, I think the most recent article I put out was about WandaVision. But every time I read it, I get like that imposter syndrome where I read it and I'm like, this is stupid. Nobody's going to like this. And then I get discouraged. So that's something I'm just kind of personally dealing with.
Sure.
And then eventually I'm going to I hope to have my own podcast one day, but
you gotta take it from the VGN crew. You got to just be like, this is stupid. Everyone should like this.
Yeah.
Well, I remember I like years ago, I hit you up and you even on Facebook, and you kind of guided me through the process of like recording equipment and all that. And even back then I was trying to use like Anchor and Podbean and all that stuff. And sure. I would record myself and I'd listen back and I'd be like, oh, like this is the dumbest thing anyone's ever done. This is stupid. So it's just one of those things where I just have to keep pressing forward until until I'm just ready to just release content.
Right. Yeah. It's I remember being a little kid with a cassette recorder. Hi, everybody. I wouldn't want to play that stuff today, but, I've always just had a bit more of I just throw it out there. And when I worked with those guys from Murray and Sons, they were refining things, and it works better that way. Like it does. Like if you take the time to do everything right and all the steps right, then you can get a nice, finished product that people are going to like look at. And even if they don't look at it, you have like a reference that you can like point to and say, I have this project and it didn't go where I wanted to, but it's very polished and it's nicely done. And there's stories in Hollywood, what was that show? Freaks and Geeks or something that, where they, a lot of people were involved in that, and it should have been successful, but it wasn't, and but that's an example of something you can point to and have it, somebody put effort into it. And there's a lot of things out there that don't have a whole lot of effort put into it. But yeah, I'm personally more just about quantity than quality. I just dump all kinds of garbage on the internet and see what sticks. No, I don't know. I do want to be able to do more, but I don't have the time. I mean, it would be nice to be retired in a way and just work on things all the time so I could spend the hours necessary. Go ahead, Don. I'm sorry.
What?
Oh, you kept making noises like you wanted to say something. And
I thought you
were going to talk about your time.
Did I make a noise?
Tell us about that time you were in prison. No, kidding. No, but yeah, okay. So, well, that sounds pretty good. So you mentioned you had a girlfriend now. Is that like the first girlfriend you've ever had? So you're just constantly like, whatever you want, dear. Yes. Yeah. Whatever you say, I'll get you whatever you want,
No, we're not at that place. When we first started dating, yes, I was definitely like, just that guy. But after we're going on 10 years now.
Oh, terrific.
It's more like, these walls are thin, so it's more like
we know.
It's more like choose your battles. You know what I mean? Yeah, so one of the things.
Hear what you're saying.
All of a sudden, she's going to start listening to the shit I listen to now.
She's in the room.
Years I've been begging her to be interested in what I'm into. Now she wants to. It's more like choose your battles, right? And for me, I'm very prideful. Mm-hmm. And learning to set that aside, I think, is one of my biggest accomplishments, because you learn just the greater good is, oh, all right, no, you got that. You got this one. And then you just move past it.
Yeah, no, that takes strength, what you just said.
Brains.
I don't have that. I get into fierce arguments. It's probably why I've never been married. But, I had a girl live with me, Donnie knows, and she came into my apartment and put up everything she liked and took all my stuff, and I don't know what she did with it, burned it or something, and the whole house was hers. And ever since that ever happened to me, I've had this like thing where like if somebody touches my stuff, I get really upset about it. Like it's just like, I don't know, Anderson, you had a kind of a similar thing where like with your ex where you had to like sell all your stuff.
I lost. I would be lucky if I got to sell it. Sure. Most of it was like, hey, what happened to that Kiss T-shirt I had? I don't like that one, so I threw it out. Wait, what?
Yeah,
stuff like that.
It's just like it's hard. So to be able to take it, like that, people don't know, but it takes some strength.
My thing is I'm a smart ass, right? So every once in a while I'll catch myself saying something out of the side of my mouth, and it's like I know I'm the intention is to dig just deep enough where now you have to react,
right?
So I'm a pro at that, but it takes a lot to get me there because honestly, I don't know. I built up such a thick skin. There's not too much that can take me there, especially because it's like when I come home after dealing with the world's bullshit, I'm not like that's home to me. You know what I mean? That
Right.
I can't bring that stuff home. I mean, I can't. So it's just about peace. It's just about maintaining my sense of peace and balance.
So
No
you've been
matter what.
together 10 years.
Yep.
Marriage?
Yeah. That will be very, very soon.
Okay. Well, good for you. So do you plan to have children?
I have two.
Oh, okay. Oh, well then.
I have
move that along then. Speed it up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. And they're both blessings. I don't differentiate any other time, but for the sake of the podcast, I will say one is through the relationship and the other is my biological daughter. But I never felt the need to defend or differentiate between the two.
Oh no, I totally understand that.
The only steps in my house go up and down. That's what you say.
Exactly. And that's just been, I mean, that's the best thing to me.
Yeah, no, that's terrific.
Just having that.
Yeah. Does she work? Your wife?
Yes.
Our wife.
Yes. Keep saying wife. That'll be the only part she hears, and that'll be fine.
She's already listening. She got a glass on the wall. She's like, these walls are really thin.
Old school glass on the wall.
She's like, oh, that's what he thought. We're getting married. All right, sweet.
Yeah. Does she still work at the place you met her at, or
no? She works for like one of these medical places where you have to call and schedule patients for appointments and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And we're both working remotely right now.
Yeah, well, I think everybody, a lot of people are. Donnie's not. Donnie's everybody else's lifeline.
I'm out there. I'm in the middle of it.
Damn shame too. Damn shame.
He's what are you? Essential worker.
Yes, I got a letter.
Did you really?
I got a letter that states that.
That's awesome. You have to keep that and frame it one day. That you tell your great grandkids that your great grandfather was an essential worker during the big plague of.
And I still have yet to get pulled over so that I can use it.
Yeah, you never will.
Yeah, listen, that whole thing. I just got the first shot of the vaccine.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, so
which one?
I got it because I'm an educator. Pfizer.
Oh, good one.
Yeah,
works good against the variants.
Well, my mom has COPD, and I'm around her like 3-4 days a week, so that's not something I play with.
Great. Okay, so we're heading near the end here. Future, tell me, what's it hold for you? What would you like to see yourself in, like, say, 20 years?
In 20 years, no matter what I'm doing, I just want to have the freedom to travel where I want, when I want.
Okay. Well, they might not let you in some places, but
no way. I'm Pfizered up. I could get it anywhere.
That's true. No, I know. It's the way things are going these days. But okay, great. All right, Matt. Well, it's been awesome talking to you. And
absolutely.
For everybody out there that's listening, if you want to find out more about the podcast, we're on Facebook under Oblast.
Something.
Yeah, I don't know if it's under Kevin's Oblast or whatever. And you can find our Patreon at patreon.com/VGN, as in video game news. Donnie was like, why do you say Victor Greg Norman? It's just video game news. It's like, yeah, you're right. I'm dumb. And you can find more information there with our Patreon. And just keep listening, and we'll have some more shows. Also, if you are a current patron, I just wanted to mention this. We did do a show last week, and that's between the Jedi show and this show. And so if you are a patron and you have not heard that show, you need to use your custom RSS feed. Otherwise, you will not hear it. So if you have problems figuring that out on the Patreon website, come talk to me. Send an email to oblast@vgn.us, and we'll help you out. There's also the first episode of the Donnie Diaries that are on there, and that's also for patrons only. So you've got 2 shows that you can listen to. Don's working on another Donnie Diaries. We won't have a patron-only show for a couple of weeks from now, because we've got at least 2 to 3 more interviews coming up. And if you do want to get interviewed, send an email to oblast@vgn.us, and we'll have you on like we had Matt here. And, it's a quick hour. We'll get right through it. Matt, before I end the show, though, was there anything else you wanted to pitch, talk about, say, etc.?
Yeah, no. I'm also on a podcast called Making Sense with Taj every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. So check us out. Um, if you go to freemixedfeelings.com, don't judge too harshly. It will be better eventually. But check me out, and that's it, man. Just all love. Everyone be kind to each other because it's ugly out here.
Absolutely.
Right.
You've been listening to Oblast with Don and Kevin. If you'd like to write into the show, send an email to oblast@vgn.us. That is VGN as in video game news. And be sure to check out our Patreon page, which is at patreon.com/VGN, where you can get all of our shows, our videos, and some musings. Be sure to tune in each week for new episodes on our Patreon page or every other week on the public RSS feed that you're subscribed to now. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Peace.